All right, people, welcome to another edition of the New Breed Podcast, the world's best podcast about the new metal lifestyle. I'm one half of your hosting duo, Jay Horskow. With me, I have my partner in crime, the notorious TIM, Tim Anderson Jr. Tim, how are you?
I'm fucking great.
Is the vodka cold? The vodka's cold.
It's very cold.
All right.
It's going down quick.
Fantastic. We have a murderer's row of guests tonight, starting off with my college roommate. Yes, I am that old. Somebody who has seen Soulfly by the notes with me at no less than 3 times. Chris Guzzi. Chris, thank you for joining us.
What's up?
And then we are happy to have you. I'm sure 3 or 4 drinks in, we'll all start insulting each other. It's all going to fall apart into a mess, but it'll be a good time until that point.
First drink.
This is true. Your audio isn't even on, and we were already talking shit. And then I have 3/5 of the comedy group, the Lokonauts. I have Lil Bobby.
How's it going?
Yeah, just waving at the camera, guys, is terrible fucking audio. So let's try again. Dan Pitts.
Hey, everyone.
And Dr. Dom.
What up?
All right. So I think we are all ready to
bring the shit.
So tonight's deep dive, we are going to talk about Soulfly's second album, 2000's Primitive. So Tim, give us the details on this album, and then we're going to go around the horn on what people's thoughts are.
So other than it's trash, it's I'll give you the details. All right, released September 26, 2000, recorded at the Salt Mine Studio in Mesa, Arizona. Came out on Roadrunner, produced by Toby Wright and Sean Lennon, who you know who Sean Lennon is? I was reading about apparently it's Yoko Ono's son, which is fucking weird that he produced this record. There's not, I couldn't find much about this record either, man. I'm like literally nothing. There's like nothing on Wikipedia, no interviews with any. It's crazy. Well, we could say second record after Max left, Sepultura. What do we got here? 226,000 copies sold since its release, which I thought would be way more.
Yeah, right.
Hit number 32 on the Billboard Top 200 and number 11 on the independent charts. Mixed by Andy Wallace. That's about it, man.
Yeah, there's I do think that Toby Wright adds a little bit of polish that you didn't hear on the first album, because he did Alice in Chains, he did Metallica, he did a whole bunch of other shit like that. But even still, this is enough about me. I'm going to start with Lil Bobby. Lil Bobby, what are your thoughts on this album in the aggregate?
In the aggregate, I guess it's like low bar here, but it wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. I on first listen, I was like, oh, production's not so bad. And then he started doing the corn like scatting, and I was like, oh. It's like, oh yeah, that's right. That's why there's only a few songs that I think I threw them on mixed CDs back in the day. But yeah, in the aggregate, it was listenable. I listened to it 3 times, twice in a row in one occasion, and I didn't want to kill myself.
Well, I guess that's a positive or a negative, depending upon our opinion of you. Chris Guzzi, thoughts?
I of course don't think anywhere near as badly of it as Tim or you. You guys are the bigger connoisseurs. This is just an album from my college heyday. And it was a big deal. The Soulfly emergence was a huge deal at the time, and even the songs that are not their best, have that nostalgic feel to an old head like me. But it was unmistakably Max Cavalera, and for that comes with its pros and its cons. And but it's different than so many other the variety, the guest appearances, they mixed it up along the way. So there's something to be said for that, instead of just straight tear your face off from tracks 1 to the last. So that's something we can get into during it. But I'm a 1 thumbs up kind of guy on this, whereas Tim wants to nuke it to the to the bottom of the earth. So I guess we'll have some thoughts in between.
Did you hear number 3?
Yeah, so I listened to it, I don't know, probably 5 or 6 times over the last 2 weeks, mostly while I'm lifting weights in the basement. And
humble brag.
It's really
one does
fucking frustrating, because some songs make you want to like fucking throw the weights through the window or lift them straight through the ceiling. And other songs make you want to drop the weights on your fucking face.
Yeah. It has its moments.
Yeah.
That's a visual picture. And representing the defense tonight, we have the Honorable Daniel Pitts, Esquire. Dan, thoughts?
I think it's a good album. The second half definitely it falls off. The last two songs are just awful. But I think like Max throughout his career, he is always drawing like current influences in music and what's going on. And I think you feel that with what's going on in the album. The guy just loves music. So he's always trying different instruments, different collaborations. You feel that throughout this. There's some hard riffs. You can't deny that.
I think you make some good points. I think Dom makes some good points because and when we go into the track by track, there's some tracks where like, yeah, this one's really good. Fucking Sean Lennon. Yeah, this one's really good. Fucking Tom Araya. Tim and I were going back and forth, and we were trying not to talk too much about it before we recorded. But the word Tim used is the album just doesn't feel cohesive to him.
It's not.
I think we could all agree that it's easily Max's least cohesive work.
It's like a bunch of songs that he just had sitting in his hard drive, and he was like, "Oh, I'll throw this one on here."
And it seems like he tried to incorporate I don't know the name of the instrument, but it's like indigenous sounding in a bunch of
Berimbau? The Berimbau.
Yeah. Throughout. And it's like, okay, that's your through, but it's not, doesn't really work.
Well, I wonder how much of that was Toby Wright being like, make it sound more tribal,
Okay, so you have to tell Max to make something sound more tribal.
Yeah, right.
I'm pretty sure it's the last guy you have to.
You miss a lot of the fire riffs in here, and I don't mean fire as like what the kids say, like the song "Fire" on the self-titled.
Yeah,
you miss a lot of that aggression on this record.
Mm.
They definitely phoned this one in, man.
Yeah, and like to what Dom was saying, there's some songs that had some build-up, and like you expect to be really jamming or grooving, and it doesn't come.
Definitely.
There were a couple of times I was like, oh, okay, now we're going. What is this, a fucking tribal breakdown? And there's the fucking Berimbau again. I'm like, just one of those. I want to shake my head. I'm like, but I want to fast forward, but I can't fast forward. But I want to fast forward. All right, so let's go in. So first song, Back to the Primitive, lead off track, 4 minutes 22 seconds. Tim, I'm going to start with you. Initial thoughts. Is this the best song? All right, so I won't start with you. But
no, that's fine. It's fine. For an opener, it might be one of the heaviest songs on the record. So I think using this as the opener was the good way to go. I mean, but the lyrics, man, like, come on, dude, what the fuck, all the bullshit. Come on, dude. This is like, I was telling you in the message the other day. It's like music like a football team listens to after their high school like Friday night game. After they won, and they're like in the all hype in the locker room and shit. You know what I mean?
All taking a shower together, screaming Back to the Primitive. Yeah, that'd be pretty.
Yeah, it's just it's like juvenile fucking, sophomore lyric bullshit. That's just, to me, that's why I can't stand a record. It's just like, can you think of anything better than that?
But now I got a bunch of dudes in sweaty pads. That's all I can hear right in my head. Yeah. So you're gonna say, Little Bobby?
I was just gonna say, like, yeah, another thread throughout the whole album is him talking about bullshit.
Yeah.
So here's where, like, what you guys are just saying right here is, like, this is Max Cavalera. Like, his entire singing vocabulary is 1 or 2 syllable words. Like, what are you expecting?
True.
Like, honestly,
true.
It's a second language, and all he does in English is just scream and go. And you can go back through most of his records. It's all, if it's more than 2 syllables, he's not screaming it.
That's true.
I'll tell you what I'm expecting. Anytime I hear something that Max is doing, for me, like, I want it to be roots again. I always want it to be roots again. That's what I'm always listening for. Like, I was 16 when that came out, and it blew my fucking mind. And that's what I like when I said it was frustrating, because you got some tracks on this album that start to get back to that, and then you have other tracks that are just like, where are you going with this?
Dan, thoughts?
Yeah, I agree with Tim. It's a good opener on the album. It sets the tone. You know, using the berimbau, then you get hit in the face with the bongos. I think they just had a dude in the corner in the studio just ripping the bongos for a month straight.
My notes were, this is Soulfly distilled, right? Because this song has every single thing that's a Soulfly catchphrase, a Soulfly aesthetic, except for a guest, right? Like you said, it's the bongos, it's the tribal shit. It starts with him yelling in Portuguese. There's some weird fucking sample until we come to the fucking one song where his fucking Rugrats show up again. I'm like, Max rubs his fucking Rugrats. His kid's always yelling on the fucking CD. It's like, is that my fucking kid screaming? You know, it's fucking drives me bananas.
Well, they're in the band now.
Yeah, this is true. Isn't his one son the drummer, right?
Yeah. For Cavalier Conspiracy.
Okay, so let's move it ahead to the second track.
Can we just go back and talk about the corn style scatting?
Oh, the ball. Yeah.
I just want that on record.
But again, I mean,
2000s, man. What do you want?
Yeah, right?
Not just the 2000s, like Max using just words in general. Like words are he's just a grunter and a screamer. So what does it matter if it's like monosyllabic English words or just like scatting, screaming? Like it's just a bullhorn of just metal in your face, and it doesn't even matter like what's coming out of his mouth. I feel like that's
Guzzy does make a point. I mean, this is the same guy whose voice was sampled to be the Scorpion King scream in the movie The Scorpion King.
You know?
So like English is not his, like it's
That's
not
a
what
good
he's
pull.
known for, you know?
The most new metal of movies.
Anybody else final thoughts before I move it along? Dom, thoughts? No,
I mean, nothing that hasn't been said already.
Dom's waiting for track 4 so he can pull out his whiteboard and we can all bounce around the room. All right, so now we're going to go to track 2, Pain. This was 3 minutes, 40 seconds, featuring Grady Avenel from Will Haven, Guzzy's favorite band. We'll get to that in a minute. And Chino Moreno, the Deftones. And I'm going to start with you, Dan. Thoughts?
Yeah, it's one of my favorite tracks because of Grady and Chino. Just full nostalgia from all 3 bands. You know, it's awesome, and you can like picture the 3 of them in the studio just having a ball, just like they probably don't even give a fuck about the song at all, but they're just like, okay, whatever.
Max calls up in his broken English, hey guys, I want you to be on the single, we're going to sing some shit. Yeah
Chino, and the weird drawn out fuck you with the reverb that Chino does in the song. He's probably like, this will be great, just record me, I'm gonna lay down fuck you.
Guzzy, thoughts?
So one, I mean, it's a thing about this album, I think, you know, unless, you know, it's been 20 years, so I might be wrong about the progression of the genre through the, you know, like 96 to 2000. But this I remember being an album that opened up my eyes to the cross pollination of the bands, like Deftones and like, you know, Max had that guest appearance on the which Deftones album was that?
Around the Fur.
Yeah, so that's 97. So that, I mean, that right there was mind blowing. Like the guy from Sepultura on a Deftones album, like, and so that's like a one-off appearance, and that's kind of how I always thought of like things, you know, kind of like that. But this album is like you know, and this is maybe for other tracks there, but there's so many guest appearances, and there weren't anywhere near as many on their first album. And I'm not, you know, I'm not the deep cuts, you know, album guy, you know, like, so you had that giant fucking CD binder, 8 foot thick CD binder of every new metal CD that came out anytime between like, you know, 94 to 99. Not a single thing, and you knew when something was missing too.
Yeah, it was kind of weird. Yeah. Who took my fucking Human Waste Project CD?
Yes, yeah. So, you might have seen more of the of that cross pollination between the different band members and different things, but to have like two, one of which I just barely been introduced to you, and the other one is Chino fucking Moreno, and they're both here in the same track on the second album. It's like, okay, even if it's not the best song, to me it was like, holy shit, like this is like a whole thing. There's this reverberates through the metal community. There's and that, I don't know, that catches me to hear Chino come in the middle of the song. I'm like, fuck, it's not just Max screaming.
Yeah.
It's like there's it adds something to it in that sense that maybe if you're looking at it objectively, it might not be the the prettiest track, or not prettiest, it's fucking new metal, but I don't know, that's something that always stuck with me about this whole album. But that track was the first thing that came out to me with that. So that's what I got.
Tom?
I mean, same thing. You get Chino on the record with Max, and just like Dan said, just the nostalgia factor alone. I don't really even care what the lyrics say or like if it's a well-written, like I just don't care because it's Max and Chino together. So it's like I'm gonna listen to it, I'm gonna like it.
Rob?
Grady's energy and his screaming in that song, if Max could match it in the album, this album would be 10 times better.
Yeah.
See what you're saying there.
Yeah.
Will Haven's super underrated.
For sure. And
Go ahead, Guzzy. Tell him, Guzzy. Tell him.
And that's another one of those bands I haven't thought of in 20 years, but I forget like that binder of yours was like the like I saw a couple of references like not that long ago to Dillinger Escape Plan. And I was like, the only reason I know who they are is because of
we went to that show. Yeah.
CDs. I borrowed that CD from you and stuff like that. So I mean, Will Haven, not my favorite.
So Guzzy and I saw Will, but we did see Will Haven. We saw Will Haven open for Deftones and Limp Bizkit at the Troc. Right, Will Haven was opening that show.
The new metal of new metalist show.
Yeah, and then so I went back and looked at all the times I'd seen Soulfly, and one of the times I believe it was with you, Guzzy, was in August of '98 with Incubus, Snot, and Head PE at the Birch Hill. It was me and you.
Yeah.
And then this is why I always think of Will Haven when I think of Guzzy is July of '99 with Neurosis, Hatebreed, and Will Haven. And Will Haven wasn't supposed to be on the show. It was supposed to be Amen, and Will Haven got replaced. And we walk in, and the guy says Will Haven, and Guzzy looks and he punches me, and I'm like, "What the fuck are you doing, dude?" He's like, "Fucking Will Haven," and I'm like, "Dude, what is your fucking problem with this band?" But I want to go to Tim last, and Tim, here's the reason why. Remember when I said to you that the best way to tell if an album is good is just fast forward to the second track, and the second track will tell you? Guzzy is the guy who introduced me to that idea. He's the one who said, go to the second track, listen to it. If it's good, the whole album is going to be good. If it's trash, the whole album's trash.
Well, I appreciate that because I do that now. So,
and I don't know which band it was that I realized like that's where you see it, but it could have been some grunge CDs or whatever it was. But I just started catching like the first song is that's you're putting your best shit right up front almost all the time. So if you blow your wad right at the beginning and you follow it up with a shit song, you're like, there's 9 more to go.
Yeah.
Like that you didn't hide the rest of the songs after track 2.
It's a good point.
So I don't know. It's one of my few strokes of genius that I feel like I pulled out of my ass over the years.
You retire after that one?
Yeah, right.
No, not retire. I cling to my playing career for as many years as possible. But people only remember that with that one hit way back.
Start writing for Pitchfork, and then like Bobby Bonilla, just get a paycheck till 2047. All right, so now we got track 3, 3 minutes and 22 seconds. Bring it. I'm going to actually take this one first. My notes here said it was a welcome tempo change because it seems like Max does a lot of mid-pace stuff. So this one, he actually picked it up to almost a slight gallop. The reggae bridge actually works. And then I had a question. What would Soulfly sound like if he played more in double time? Because I went back and I listened to the first album and I listened to this album, and everything is kind of a not plotting. Like, because when I think plotting, I think of Will Haven, funnily enough. But all of his stuff is measurably paced, and he never does any of the quick time, like and I would kind of wonder what would happen if he actually tried to play faster. Because then his English really doesn't matter, right?
Then you get Sepultura.
I was just going to say that. I was going to say the exact same thing.
Damn it.
But then, so then
Kinda
as
walked
a
into that one.
tangent brings up the question, like, was there people, who was it in Sepultura you think pushed Max to go faster? Whereas, like, because Jay, you bring up a point that I hadn't specifically thought of, but probably was like registered in the back of my mind. Like, yeah, all the songs do have that similar tempo. So who do you think was the one, or were the guys or the one guy that pushed Sepultura into that speedier, thrasher kind of genre? I don't know.
It's a good question. What do you think, Lil Bobby? Who was the one pushing?
Let me answer that a different way. My take has always been that Max was like so guitar player, and that's probably the limiting factor more than anybody else, bringing more pace to it.
Great point.
Yeah. Andreas
There's a reason he only plays four
strings.
strings. Yeah.
Wasn't he down to like 3 strings at a certain point?
I forgot all about that.
Probably. As long as I can hit my open D power chords, I'm good.
Yeah.
Hold on, Dan's got to get up, take his Charvel off the wall, and take the 2 strings off. I'm like, okay, now I can play like Max. But I remember there was an interview with Andreas where he used to complain and say, "Fucking Max's guitars are always falling out of tune because he doesn't even string the bottom 2 strings." And I think it was Andreas pushing the tempo, because I don't think it's Igor. I mean, if you look at like some of Igor's best drum work, it's Territory, right? It's Chaos AD. It's stuff that's not fast. It's just he gets to show that motherfucker can play, which is even funnier when you look at his drum setup, because all of his drums are parallel. Like, they're parallel to the floor, which, Dom, you're a drummer. Then Tim, you play drums. That's got to kill your back, right? To lean forward and hit like that. It's
terrible. That's why I'm yawning so much, because I had practice today. I'm fucking dead.
Other thoughts on Bring It? Open forum. Everybody grab it. Go.
Boring as hell track. I skip it
Really?
after like the first couple of riffs. I'm just like, all right, but then I skip it. This album did not hold up for me at all, man.
No. Contradictory lyrics. Bring it, but get the fuck away from me, or something like that.
Yeah.
That Reggae Break, I would listen to a whole album of that while on the beach drinking a margarita or something. It's awesome. It's good music.
Mm-hmm.
Divisive. Is this so I've only, forgive me, but I've only listened to a couple of the podcast episodes. Is it usually very opposing? One guy hates it, one guy loves it, defense and prosecution.
Some of these, yeah. Tim and I, so for example, Tim hates the first Limp Bizkit album. I think he should be tried in The Hague for war crimes for that.
If you hate the first Limp Bizkit album, then you can't. Why are you even on this podcast?
Well, no, because he loves Significant Other. But then Tim and I did we did the first Chimera album as a deep dive, and that was a slog for me. Not because I didn't like it, but because it was like, what was it, Tim? 14 tracks.
Yeah,
it's a long album. I was like, dude, this is too much new metal.
But it's a great album.
Yeah, it was just too much new metal.
This genre was never one for brevity.
No. There was definitely some egos like, yo, pull out the fucking Barenbow, and then let's add some bongos. And then, yo, Dan, call Chino from the Deftones. See what he's doing this weekend.
Fucking Sean Lennon.
Really, Tim at the beginning of the whole thing is like, Sean Lennon, I guess he's Yoko Ono's son being the lead.
Yes, thank you for explaining.
Yeah, and then also some guy that was in some British band too.
Some British guy. Oh,
well, see, I don't know who the fuck that guy is.
Oh, look at him scooch. Get his bell bottom.
Are you fucking?
What band was he in?
No, he knows Sean Lennon. He doesn't.
Okay. All right, I got you now. I got you. I know the Beatles.
Too much vodka. All right, so next song we have is
Bring the Shit.
This is probably the song that I can't stand on this album. Track number 4, 5 minutes 11 seconds with Corey Taylor of Slipknot. Jump the fuck up.
Best song on the record.
Dom's got it on his whiteboard. There we go.
That's right.
Really, Tim? You think this is the best song on the album?
I agree.
Yeah. Well, actually, I think Pain is the best track on the record because of obvious reasons. But this is a great track, man. I think Corey is one of the best vocalists ever. So I just enjoy hearing him in this, and this has got the best riffs in the record to me.
Dom?
Yeah, I agree. It's for me, it's the riffs and it's the percussion. Like the guitar just sounds dirty and nasty, and the drums, the percussion adds that tribal feel to it again. So like I'm starting to pick up those roots feelings, and again, pushing my weights all the way through the ceiling on this song.
Dan, gonna defend this one, or you're gonna agree with the prosecution here?
So I agree overall. It's a hard track. It's good. I actually wrote down Corey is a whiny bitch.
Wow.
Just for the like soft spoken parts he does. Like, I don't know. I just
it's like some Stone Sour shit.
I cringe at it. Yeah, that's probably where he got the idea for the band. Like, oh, this works. But he definitely adds an element of like he's like the face of nu metal, right? Like he knows what he's doing. He is the sound,
the mask of nu metal.
Yeah. So it works.
Yeah, I was gonna say
it
face
works
of the guy
overall.
that doesn't show his face.
That's always been my thing, especially with first album Slipknot is hardest the genre will have ever gone.
Yeah.
And you absolutely get some of that in this song. And then the whiny shit that I can do without, but like when he's actually screaming, it's really good.
Tim and I have talked about that, about how the Slipknot self-titled album was the apotheosis of nu metal. That's where nu metal hit a high watermark at that point.
Crescendo.
Yeah, and then at that point it was downhill from there. There were some good bands in the descent, but
I chimed in on this with you. I think maybe it was a text message or was it a Facebook thread? I think it might have been just a text exchange we had when you were busy railing against one of those trivia contests your job does.
Well, you couldn't give me any fucking baseball answers. The San Diego Chicken was one of the answers. Like, are you fucking kidding me?
This is all great podcast content.
Yeah, this is great content. Right? A little talking typically inside baseball. Go on, Guzzy.
No, but in terms of like Slipknot, like that, we were just saying the same thing. Again, like I don't remember if it was on the podcast webpage or not, but that's a thing that resonates, with me, who's like very disconnected from going into this stuff, unless you guys, you're prompting me. Like I haven't listened to this album in forever, so I can always go back and listen to a lot of the 90s stuff. But one thing that I could have said without listening to anything for 10 years was Slipknot was the crescendo for, I hadn't thought of that word until just now, or whoever said it. I think it was Bobby, but absolutely, like and then maybe like their second album was like even more like and not just because there are bands that can have a first album that are awesome, and then their second one is actually kind of like doing something like
the
that
song,
right? But so yeah, I agree with that. And with Corey Taylor, again, blowing my mind that that Corey Taylor is just guest appearancing when he's like the the front man of the most face tearing big nu metal band ever. And one thing I think struck with me in terms of what you guys are saying about the whiny parts is I think the lyrics that he brought to this were very hit and miss. I think he had some really lame lines written in his lyrics, and it just so happened that the lamest lines of his lyrics were the most understandable and the least shouted. So he can, and we've seen it in a lot of his songs over both bands many years, where he can deliver face punching shit at a lower at that spoken what you want to call the whiny sound. So it's not that he goes from awesome or whiny. In my mind, he doesn't go awesome and whiny. It's just that on this song, his the singier kind of stuff brought in some really lame ass wording, whereas the stuff that was more shouted was definitely better worded, better aggressively, and definitely fit the fits in the Soulfly album better. But what I love, and I was saying earlier about the whole album, what a weird change of pace to go from Max grunting language through grunting just metal through a vocal cords. You know, that his vocal cords only serve as a barrier between his lungs and what goes in the microphone. But and then one of the most coherent vocalists and coming through in the middle and then kind of going back and forth. I thought that was it makes for the whole CD has no three songs are the same as the others, and it just kind of cool to me that that you bring that kind of change of pace in, but a change of pace that involves somebody at the pinnacle, or right beginning their prime of their metal career in Corey Taylor. So that to me, stands out about this track. So,
do you remember the first time we saw Slipknot together? Do you remember that? The Roseland?
Not specific. Oh yeah. I remember.
Roseland.
So
Tim saw the.
I have two of our metal concerts. I have like in two. There's the metal concerts we saw up where you lived, and then there's metal concerts we saw in Philly. And I remember Slipknot being one of those ones that was up by you. And
Tim saw it Tim saw it in Philly. We saw it at the Roseland in New York, and it was Slipknot, and they literally torched everybody else on stage.
Oh, yeah.
And then it was Rob Flynn and Machine Head touring off of the Burning Red, and they were good. And then Guzzy, you remember the banner comes out for Cold Chamber touring off Chamber Music, and the Slipknot fans actually ripped the banner down that covered the front of the stage. And I looked at Guzzy and I'm like, we got to get back to South Jersey. He's like, fuck it, man, we're out of here. And we bolted. But they were a fucking force to be reckoned with, right? It was like, what the fuck is this going on stage?
Well, how much of that makes you think they put Corey on this record because of the popularity of the first Slipknot record? Because
I definitely think that had something to do with it.
The first Soulfly record didn't do well either. So maybe this was a push for maybe, we put Corey on here and maybe it pushes the record, but it didn't. I don't think it worked. But
yeah, that was all Roadrunner.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Dan Pitts, first time you saw Slipknot?
My memory's shit, man. I don't know.
You guys, too much.
I can answer that.
One of the Ozfests.
I think it was me and you at the Birchill.
Yeah, that was here. Wait a minute. It was with Birchill with Biohazard and the Deadlights.
That's right.
And this
we showed up just while Biohazard was on.
Yep.
Squeezed all 9 or 10 of them, however many.
It was
stage.
That was right after. That was right when they started headlining, and they were a fucking. It was a fucking prison riot, right? 9 dudes on a stage at the Birchill. Dan, you ever been to the Birchill? Dom, Tim, either of you guys? Any guys?
They had the dude playing the kegs on the fucking floor.
It was a fucking nightmare. All right, so let's move along to the next song where Max's kids make an appearance. Mulambo. This is track number 5, 4 minutes and 20 seconds.
Could you say that anymore?
I'm trying not to burp into the mic. I'm trying not to burp into the microphone.
Okay.
Dan Pitts, defend this one, because I actually think this is one of the better songs on the album.
Yeah, I don't know. My notes were it was on a soundtrack for The Forsaken, which is a movie I never saw. I just think it's a generic song. I don't know. It's.
I feel like I'm in the.
It's not.
I feel like I'm in the jungle when I listen to that track.
It was definitely filler.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
The shit with like his kids doing the opening, doing Sun Song with Sean. Like you can tell, Max is just a big mush. He's just a big romantic, fat,
loves his kids. Yep,
metal dude.
Dom, thoughts?
Like this one.
Yeah, so do I. I think this one is. My notes are. This is heavy.
I agree with Dan. It's got a generic feel and sound to it. Like it's just very generic new metal. But I really like the rhythm. And the first time I listened to it, coming back to this, I thought with his vocals, it was just like I was hearing Jonathan Davis do his vocals. So it like kind of reminded me of listening to that stuff too. So like, yeah, it's generic, but I liked it. It was all right.
It's kind of funny. Sorry, let me just respond to that. It's kind of funny that like when we're talking about a dude that has all this tribal tinge to his music, we're calling it generic. Like
Yeah.
That's what I was gonna say. Jay, you wanted to call on somebody else.
No. Keep going. The organic stuff's better. Besides, Tim's remaking this drink. I'm watching him pour the vodka. So,
again with the variety of this, and really of any of the Soulfly albums, but the first one and the other ones. What other new metal albums are you listening to? Somebody come in with Brazilian shouting, and words you've never heard of, malumbo, like that's like you just churn out 3 syllables out of a random word.
Does anyone check if it's a real world word?
Yeah, but so
Google that shit.
And that turns out to be like a Cavalier thing. And I'm not as big I'm not as up on the Sepultura history. I didn't get into Sepultura until after I'd gotten into Soulfly. And it's because, I was just getting into metal, like in the, I got to Metallica late and everything. So I didn't know what, so MTV Headbangers Ball was the shit. And that was Pantera's prime also. So there were a couple songs that Sepultura released in those years, like Territory and a couple other ones with videos, and they just didn't quite do it for me, and so I never got in. I never bought any of their CDs or anything. So that's when I later went back and got Roots Bloody Roots, which of course blew my fucking mind. But that's where you get that feel for Max Cavalera bringing 2 cultures of language into this, neither one of which are very eloquent. But it's the only CD you're going to go from Max's pure metal shouting to this, to another language, and just have that kind of like I don't know. It's a cool little change of pace again from some of the other stuff. So I guess some of you guys are more into like some of the like getting into the riffs of it and the tempo, and I can kind of see that. It's kind of like to each his own. But I like the idea of this is a change of pace. I feel like I'm fawning a little too much over this album as compared to how much I'm saying. I'm speaking nicer of it than I actually like it.
That's okay. We need to
end it.
Yeah, no, you don't have to.
It's a good album, but Soulfly has better albums, so it's not like I think like this is their best album and let me just speak lovingly of it for this whole podcast, and everything. But I don't know. It's just that's something that hit me when I was re-listening to this. And we got to this track. It's like, oh, here's the track where Max just shouts Brazilian into everything over drop D. Okay, I forgot that was coming, but of course it was.
My notes actually said that Max made me love gutturals and brutal death metal because you can't understand shit. That's actually what I wrote in my notes, right? Like Max made it okay for me to not be able to understand a word you're saying. So before I go to Tim, I just want to publicly shame Little Bobby because just again want to remind everyone, Little Bobby never got to see Pantera live. Idiot. Tim,
me either.
I never got to see them live either.
I never seen them either.
Guzzy was at that show with me where Tornello almost got killed, the one at the Electric Factory. Guzzy was there with me.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Cold Chamber and Machine Head opened, and there were dudes that make like fucking NFL linemen look like Little Bobby stretching out in the parking lot. We're walking in going, this is not going to be a good scene.
Yeah.
And
weren't you also at the Ozfest at Giant Stadium where the crowd just started coming?
Oh, Phil gets up and he's like, I want to see everybody on the motherfucking floor right the fuck now. I don't give a fuck if you paid for tickets in the fucking stands. I want to see you on the floor. Let's fucking do it. And you turned around and it literally looked like the Katamari ball from fucking World War Z because all these fans are coming out of the stands and like the state police were there. Remember, because this is Marilyn Manson when he's ripping Bibles in half and shit. So for every 2 people that the Stadies grabbed, somebody would run by and like slap the cop's ass or whatever. It was fucking bedlam. It was absolute bedlam. And they were so loud. My ears started to hurt because this is before I was wearing earplugs. I went outside, sat outside Giant Stadium and heard them play perfectly. It like you literally came around the corner and it was just, Guzzy, were you at the show with me?
I don't think I went. No, I don't think I went, but I know that I remember that feeling of we ducked out from different venues and some of them were smaller, but I definitely remember going outside of venues while some bands were still playing, and then maybe just to go back in later, like, I don't know, for whatever reason. And when you're outside, you can hear them almost as perfectly as if you were inside. And so I absolutely remember that. So I have a kind of funny Phil story that I want to go off on a tangent about, that I would say you can cut this, but you guys don't cut anything.
No, hell no.
Nope.
So
Tim, that's why Tim loves the show. He drops in the intro, he puts it up on fucking Libsyn. That's it. It's done. We don't gotta fucking edit anything.
So I'm gonna say it anyway, and that could be the first thing you ever cut. But my buddy Dan was telling me about he saw Phil nearly booed off the stage one time. This is Great Southern Trendkill era. That was their last album, right?
Reinventing
It was Reinventing the Steel tour, and it was one of those breaks where they've just done I don't know, you're like 40% of the way through the show and the band takes a break, but Phil of course stays out on the stage and all doped up and messed up on whatever booze and drugs he's on, and the crowd's into it. Let's hear it for fucking metal, because metal, we're not going to let metal scene and that's and the crowd's like, yeah, and then he just keeps going a little bit more, and he kind of loses the crowd a little bit, and then my buddy says he grabs a guitar, and he says he's seen him do this a couple other times, but he grabbed it this time and he's like trying to mess around on it, and it's god awful, and the crowd's already losing a little bit of patience. And Phil says into the microphone, it's like, who the fuck tuned this guitar to D? I was like every guitar player in the entire country for the entire decade. I think maybe, like, how are you so fucking shocked that it got tuned?
You couldn't play Stairway to Heaven.
So eventually he just gave it. He's like, "Oh, you want the band to come back out and play?" And then the crowd won back over again. But
wasn't that the tour that he OD'd on?
Probably, yeah.
That's the tour they did 101 Proof. 101, right?
Yeah. That was for Trendkill.
Yeah. But you can't take away from the rant at the end of 5 minutes alone. That shit is amazing.
I'll tell you something right the fuck
right now. Fuck now. We got the fucking cameras rolling right now. We're gonna fucking it.
You guys haven't done a Pantera show yet, have you?
No, we're getting close to the adjacent.
That doesn't count as new metal, right?
No, but it's adjacent. I would say it's adjacent.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm inviting myself on that one.
Think about it. Well, no, you're coming on one. You're going to have to defend how Downset isn't new metal.
Okay. I'm fucking up to it. We're doing it.
Guzzy, you remember though? I mean, Pantera took out fucking Machine Head and Coal Chamber. I mean, come on. I mean, they were as adjacent as you could be. 311 took out Korn. Fucking, they were all adjacent. So yeah, we're getting towards the Pantera stuff. I fucking. Whatever. Let Phil Anselmo rant all he wants. I'm just pissed we're never going to see a reunion show. There's too many egos. Fucking
corpses.
Yeah. Well,
I think that's what you're trying to say.
I read an interview with someone this week talking about how Dimebag, there was some show where he was so drunk he couldn't even stand up, and they were about to go on, and they basically put the guitar on him and kicked him, and they said he went out on stage and he blasted through the entire set. And
it was the old tour manager on
what podcast was that, Tim? Was that Doc
Coyle?
That Doc Coyle? Yeah.
Yeah,
where he said that they literally pushed
No. It was on Machine Head Dude's podcast. Flynn.
Was it Rob Flynn?
It was Flynn, yeah. It was yeah. That was a great fucking podcast, man.
Did he make the noise?
No.
What's up, gang?
Yeah, but I mean, Dimebag was fucking amazing. Like, and I was telling Rob the other day, now that we're doing a Pantera show, I was watching that Pantera live in Moscow, right? There were 1.3 million people at that show, Monsters of Rock. There was 500,000 plus in the audience. Can you imagine playing to a fucking stadium that big? Like, were you
and they brought the same stacks to Giant Stadium. That's why outside.
It's easier to play to more people than less.
Oh yeah, I can only imagine. It's like, hey, thanks for showing up, crickets. And
even if only 10% like you, that's still 100,000 people.
Yeah.
Right. All right, let's move it along. Let's go to let's go to my favorite track of the album. Track number 6, Sun Song, featuring Sean Lennon, 4 minutes 18 seconds. Dan Pitts, you're going to start us off.
I might be the only one that liked this song. I don't know.
Yeah, I
No,
did.
I don't think it's bad. It's just Max getting weird, right? It's just him. But
It
then
doesn't
again,
fit.
when
The
you have
chorus
John
is
Lennon's
so good.
Yeah, when
The
you have
chorus
John
is
Lennon's
amazing.
son, yeah, right. You have John Lennon's son on the album. It's not going to sound like fucking Carcass.
Well, right. And I think that's okay. But so I think this song's interesting because apparently the whole like genesis of this song was there was a festival in Australia in 99 and Max's wife went to him and said, talk to Sean, you guys should do a song together. Apparently about, both their fathers dying at the age of 40. I don't know. Like, that's a weird thought.
That's a good origin
would
there.
have, but like, so this album came out when? 2004?
2000.
Oh, 2000. Okay.
Primitive? Yeah.
So that came together pretty quickly. So
Yeah.
they must have hit it off right away for this idea. I don't know.
It's a mellow track, but you're right. It
It's
kind of
weird.
works.
I
It's
had
weird.
to.
I love the piano part. I actually hate the beginning where he's counting off Sean.
1, 2,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's another one of those things where like it doesn't fit what the eventual tempo is going to be. But I had to view this one through what 2000 me would did think of it, which is it was fucking trash. And then 2021 me is like, oh, not so bad. Interesting.
Tom, thoughts?
I don't like this. The vocals, the tone of the vocals just kill it for me. I can't get over how the vocals sound.
Fair enough.
It's got a great chorus though, like Dan
Yeah.
said.
Yeah.
The chorus makes up, you call it the chorus. The chorus makes up 80% of the song.
That's true.
You know?
That's
So
Max's
it's 80% good.
Beatles. Yeah.
And for starters, it is the Soulfly thing, like the entire theme, and I think half of why he started the band was about had to do with his son's death, stepson's death, or it was happening just at the time that he was breaking apart from Sepultura. So it was like the overarching theme of like the entire first album. So you absolutely expect songs to be about that same topic. And I think we already had one of them where I think, or am I out of order, where he's he's railing against having the murder covered up. I think that might come later.
I think it was that Bring It? Was that Bring It or I don't know, or it might be later.
So you had to expect. I thought Max brought the pacing of his, like his, again, with what he shouts, and the syllables that he uses. There was more. It felt more like poetry, or the cadence of this was on the more creative side of a Max Cavalera lyric presentation. And the Sean Lennon part, obviously, is not a nu metal all-star, but,
Not even remotely.
But it does it. I don't know. It's a little switch up, and then you come back and bring Max in with the complete polar opposite of the vocals, and it's not at all. And it's not like Sean Lennon is like duetting with Max during that. The Lennon parts are small and interspersed with Max's like larger chunks, and the the guitar playing in the background wasn't just sludging through the speakers. It was there was a bounciness to that riff that was different from some of the other from basically the rest of the album so far. So I don't know. It's on this CD. I think it's a decent song overall, and on this CD, a welcome song, and and I like it.
Tim, thoughts?
Yeah, I actually do not mind this song at all. I love the fucking chorus of this song. The beat, there is like I forget who was saying it. There is some parts in here where you're just like, what the fuck is this? Like what is going on? And then the chord like a lot of these tracks on this record, like you get the hard ass riffs, but then it goes into that tribal bullshit, and that's where I just go, come on, enough of this.
Tribal
Like you
bullshit.
can't like bring it up to a level and then just completely.
Exactly. That's exactly what I'm trying to say. Yeah.
Yeah,
I think
for sure.
so. What I think is interesting with Max is like he lets other artists just do their thing. Like I feel like he treats it as a jam session.
Yeah.
And
Whereas
sometimes
albums,
It's a good point.
where other albums like guests have to fit into the mold of the album for that specific artist. And even though it's disjointed, that's just Max's approach. He's like, you do you, and I'll work around it for better or for worse.
And that's the gamble. Like it's almost always going to be disjointed. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't.
Yeah, and I know the dude's from Brazil, and you're going to get that kind of stuff, but just give me a record that's just straight up hard. You know what I mean? That's where it falls for me.
I think like they're after their fourth album, I kind of was getting away from from just kind of metal, and I really didn't listen to a lot of music for a while. I don't know, sometime in the mid 2000s. So I saw that Soulfly was still putting albums out, and then
they get worse. Trust me, they get worse.
The fifth album, though, I think it's the fifth one. Which fucking one was that?
Conquer.
The last
Dark
one
Ages?
wasn't. The
Dark
last one
Ages.
wasn't bad. The last one wasn't.
Dark Ages is fucking heavy, and it's heavy pretty much from start to finish. So if that's something that they have that out there. It took them 5 albums to make it, but without getting too weird along the way.
That's also this new metal, and also a lot of heavy stuff is like there's so many clunkers in order to get the songs are good total albums.
The last time I saw Soulfly was where I was like, all right, it's enough. And Rob, you were with me. It was at the Birch Hill.
Yep.
And you remember the show. It was
I think it was for this
Soulfly.
album.
It was 2003, May 2003.
Oh,
and it was, and I think it was for the third album, which Tim is a huge fan of.
Is that
say it, Tim? Say it.
Terrible.
And it was Soulfly and Unearth. And
oh baby.
Oh, you love Unearth, Jay.
Okay.
Oh, and they came out, and I looked at Rob and I went, "Are you fucking kidding me?" And then we're watching Max play, and I turned to Rob at one point and I go, "I'm fucking bored." He goes, "Let's get the fuck out of here," and we just left because it was
a fucking hour and a half drive.
In my own defense, I do like Unearth. The problem is Rob and Guzzy and I saw them open for fucking everybody for like 2 years. Stings the conscience. And it was like, you know what? I can't see the fucking Ken Susie guitar throw anymore. It just doesn't do it. It just
I think they might have lived at Kill Time for that whole record.
It was something else. All right, so let's keep it Soulfly. Let's move it along. So track 7, 4 minutes and 56 seconds. Boom. So I'm gonna go first on this one. This is by far the heaviest song on the album. If you listen to Nail Bomb's Point Blank and then listen to this, it's a fucking Nail Bomb song. This is a Nail Bomb song that Max, however he did it, he channeled it. I think this is my favorite song on the album. The bass tone and the lyrics are just fucking heavy. And then we have the blur, 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 the Baron Bow shows up again, which I'm going to try and make one of those at the fucking hangar and see if that works.
Well, that was the only one that didn't like look into it and see what that instrument was called. That thing that they use.
Dom, what'd you think of this one?
You're right on. It's super heavy, and it's slower, and it's got a really kind of dirty groove to it, and you can tell that it's an angrier song, especially if you listen to read the lyrics. Like it's just an angry expression, and that comes through in the bass line, in the way that the drums are, like the whole thing just feels aggro, and I love that.
Do you think he's probably still angry about the whole Sepultura thing? Like it's 2 albums in, but I will bet he's probably still mad about that.
Didn't him and Igor not make up till like 5 years ago or something.
Yeah, long. It was at a fest. It might have been one of the late Doningtons that Igor came out and played a couple songs with Soulfly, and then they started recording again. They did the Cavalera Conspiracy, but I've told that story. I had tickets to see Sepultura at the Stone Pony with fucking Far and Fury of Five. And the show gets canceled because they walk off the stage at, where was it? Where was the last show? They recorded it. It was under a pale gray sky in
Probably
somewhere
within
in
a
the
5-hour
UK.
van drive.
No, it was somewhere in the UK. It was under a pale gray sky. It was a live set. Somebody looked that up wherever that was recorded. They walked off the stage. They fired Gloria and Max quit. And because that show got canceled, I got my money back from Ticketmaster. And here's where Tim, it gets funny. I end up with tickets. Me and my buddy Ron Caroni go see the WSOU 10th anniversary birthday bash, which is when I got to see Dead Guy play to their biggest audience ever, which I still swear is one of the most evil bands to ever record. And they will never be matched. Because he's sitting here giggling away. He's like, Jay, you were such a fucking dork.
Can only imagine what a conversation between Max and Stickman would be like.
Could you imagine, right?
So Stick, are you ready to bring the shit?
Yeah.
Comparing dreads.
Jay, something. The whole thing that you said, Jay, was something I was about to mention too, and I was going to phrase it as there's very few people who are less transparent than Max Cavalera. Like he's not using too many euphemisms. He's not holding back things in interviews. Like he has all of it is out there. It's on microphone. It's in front of crowds. It's two journalists. It's all of it. So there's no chance that this whole song about getting hypocrites and leeches and you get nothing for giving everything. Like there's no way that is not anger directed at all the years he put into Sepultura for him to feel like he was just completely, erased, or not erased, but the words are escaping me. But there's no way that a song like this isn't still channeling that anger, and it's expected too, because
prove it's not about Sepultura.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Prove it's not. The what is it? The prosecution is the one who has to show the burden of proof. So let me ask you this though, Guzzy, isn't that a bit new metal tropey? Like there's a bit new metal trope that my parents hate me, fuck you dad, I'm gonna wear my big jeans and my Jenkos and whatever, and I'm gonna dry them in the fucking hotel bathroom with a hair dryer because they got soaked and I want to go out. Fucking Jim Beam.
Point of order. I feel like the problem with that is that it's like 30-year-old dudes singing about it.
Yeah, which is why hardcore is a young man's game, right? Because you can't be mad about the establishment. Like Tom Morello, let's be honest here, right? I love Rage Against the Machine. Those first two albums are great. Tom Morello ranting about capitalism with a degree from Harvard and political science, selling $30 t-shirts on his Facebook page. It's not a good look, son. It's not a good look.
Kind to him.
What you bring up in the way of tropes is, I guess you could say this about tropes in almost any work of art, is that they all become that way because somebody did it awesomely and everybody else is trying to copy it. And I don't know that Max has ever really tried to copy anything. He's not the most creative artist, and he didn't invent anything, but he doesn't go into copy. He brings a booze, a drop D, 4-string guitar, a bunch of metal, mush heads, and then they just beat the shit out of instruments, and he just pumps out lyrics that are what he has in his head. So yeah, it's tropey in a sense, but it's hard to call a man who a lot of people were trying to kind of model themselves after this guy in the first place, as that's where I would see it more in the trope sense. And maybe by 2000 we'd heard enough of this, but it's authentic, and that's why it didn't make me feel like it didn't take me out of the moment listening to it.
Dan?
So my note for this song, the he does at 28 seconds could be on a full-blown Chaos album. Any tough guy hardcore band, it's like he was feeling it, and like everyone else said, it's a super aggressive song. I don't know. I love that part. I rewinded
Dan,
to that.
best full-blown Chaos album is come on, Dan, don't think.
They're all the same. It's about seeing live. The banter is better than the songs.
Within the Grasp of Titans is perfect, and
his mosh calls are second to none.
I will always give a giant middle finger to fucking Little Bobby because we skipped. It was Remembering Never, Full Blown Chaos, Remembering Never touring off of God Hates Us, God Save Us, and Full Blown Chaos touring off of Within the Grasp of Titans, which is their best album. And Rob was like, "Oh, I want to go there," and we skipped it. And it was at the church. It would have been a fucking prison riot. But
you guys should have went because we played that.
Did you really?
Yeah, it was fucking ridiculous.
Oh,
I just never liked Remembering Never. Like,
God damn it, Little Bobby.
Whatever, I got no taste.
Oh, and Ray is one of the fucking funniest dudes
Dude,
ever.
He is so funny. That one interview with you guys where he didn't realize Adam's in a wheelchair. He's like, "Fuck it, it's the apocalypse. I'll ride a fucking horse everywhere." And Adam goes, "Yeah, I'm kind of not made for that." It was fucking brilliant. Shout out to Adam Schmidt, one of our biggest fan who hates new metal.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, this is funny because I'm wearing a disembodied shirt. Bobby's got a ringworm. Dan's got All Out War. What do you have on, Dom?
Vitriol.
I thought that's what it was, and we're all talking about fucking new metal. It's hilarious.
We're all here today because of new metal.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, Guzzy, it's time. Pull out the fucking tattoo. You got to do it. You got to pull out the Soulfly tattoo.
We'll do.
Oh, okay. Didn't someone buy one of them horns for this episode as well?
Yeah, Dan, but he said, "I can't." There you go.
There you go.
Come on,
There
give us
you
a
go.
dude. Give us a dude.
You're on
Dan, you're
mute.
on
Dan.
mute.
You're mute.
You're on mute.
God damn it.
That's amazing.
His dogs have now freaked out. Fucking, they're all screaming. All right, next song we got. Oh, this one's tough. Track number 8, "Terrorist," featuring Tom Mariah. 3 minutes 47 seconds.
Can I just do it?
Go.
Yes, go.
I cannot stand Tom Aray's whiny ass voice in this song.
Yo,
I hate it.
if you just say "I hate Slayer" 3 times, Jimmy Ferrari is going to appear over your shoulder and punch you right in the face.
Diablos is their best record.
What?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
I think Cleary, our buddy Cleary, would agree with you. I'm pretty sure that's what he reps.
Should we fucking conference him in? He's home in Rochester waiting for his kid to be born. Let's just conference him in and be like, "Yo, what are you doing? Defend Diabolism Musica." And as soon as he starts talking, just say thanks and hang up on him. Dan, Dom, what are your thoughts?
I mean, I get why it's not popular, but I like the two of them together on the same track.
I think this is the one where he's actually like.
Did he freeze?
I think Rob just froze and it made his comment
Rob.
even better.
Yeah, I do want to say it's funny this song is called Terrorist because Tom looks like a fucking terrorist nowadays.
Oh, Bobby's back.
Bobby, you're back. All
I'm
right,
back.
go on, Bob.
I was gonna say this is the one song where like there's interplay between the two people singing it
Yeah.
versus all the other songs with people on it that they're just a feature on it, like they're actually singing with each other.
So
I hadn't thought
like,
of that.
so I think
lot of-
like,
Sorry, there was a lot of. Oh yeah, I forgot about this when I was listening to this. I forgot Tom Araya was on it.
I think basically geeked out at each other because they took lyrics from Criminally Insane and Inner Self and just mushed it together.
Yep. I know. I
So,
wrote
like,
that down.
They were probably just like, "Yo, I love your record. Yeah, I loved your record too. And now we're old and like let's just rehash
They were
it."
old 20 years ago.
And then the last half of the song is like a punk rock. It's like something off of that aggressive. What was that? What was the Slayer covers album, Undisputed Attitude?
Yeah.
Where they just covered punk rock bands. That's
Well-
what the second half of the song is like.
Well,
Yeah, it's just
I
like a
do-
constant, like half 2-step kind of thing.
Yeah, well, I was gonna say like they have a whole D beat thing going
Yeah.
for the chorus, and I think that's one of the more interesting parts on the album, musically anyway.
Yeah, I was literally going to say that. I don't really care for the song, but I do like that part of the song. It's catchy for me.
I'd like to put on record that my favorite Slayer song is the one they did with Ice-T for Judgment Night soundtrack.
Oh,
Hell yes.
See, whenever
well done.
whenever I think of Slayer, I think of two things. I think of the fact that when they recorded Rain and Blood, it was 12 minutes faster than the demo tracks they laid down because they played so fast. The producer Rick Rubin was like, just fucking go with it. And the video of them rehearsing with Kevin Talley from Misery Index, Dying Fetus, auditioning to play drums, where he's fucking hitting the drums so hard the toms are literally bouncing in the mount. I'm like, yo, this guy it was like Les Claypool auditioning for Metallica. It's like, you were a little too talented, so we need someone dumber.
We can't keep up.
Yeah, we need someone dumber. No offense, but we need someone dumber.
Jason Newsted, everybody.
That poor guy. Dude, do you listen to Doc Coyle's podcast?
No, I need.
He interviewed.
I don't commute anymore, so I don't have time for podcasts.
He interviewed the guy from Super Enemy, Lorenzo, where he was like flirting with the guy's Jason Newsted's girlfriend, and he came up like trying to talk shit. And he's like, "Dude, do you know who I am?" And Lorenzo said to him, "Motherfucker, I know who you are. I got a Justice for All." Like that was literally what he said to him, and I'm like. Motherfucker, I know you are. I got a Justice for All. They buried your fucking bass tracks. All right, so next song. Oof. All right, next song is The Prophet. It is 2 minutes and 57 seconds. It's track number 9. Dom, what did you think of this one?
This one gets back to what I want to hear from Max. It's driving, it's tribal. He delivers the vocals like really aggressively and in a staccato way. Yeah, I mean it's kind of maybe even a little underwhelming, but I still like it because it's exactly what I want.
Dan?
Yeah, I think it's like Malambo. It's generic, but it's what Dom said. It's a hard song, but I literally didn't write anything down and I don't remember it.
The only note I have here is this is the Soulfly analog to Dusted off of Roots. That's the only note I have here. It's pretty much comparable.
That's a great song, though.
That's a great song.
Dusted, Spit. The Roots we got a deep dive on that one too.
Roots was a fucking.
We should just deep dive that right now.
Yeah, we should. We'll fucking pause for a second. Everybody go to the bathroom, and then we'll just go right into fucking Roots, and we'll double team it.
Need to deep dive
speed version.
Each individual song, not just the album. One episode per song.
The fuck Dusted, Spit, Straight Hate, Cutthroat. There is amazing fucking songs on that album.
And so, like I said earlier about how I got into, I checked out Sepultura in reverse. So I went to Roots and then I went back to the album before that. And it was that Chaos AD.
Chaos AD.
And I'd seen one or two of the videos off of there, so I knew the songs. But you can't listen to Chaos AD all the way through for your first time after you've listened to Roots 50 times through. Like it's not the same band anymore. And then you go farther back and it's like, it's the reverse. It feels like a band putting out their best album first and then getting worse as it goes. So there's no nostalgia there.
That is a fucking spicy take. That is a spicy take. Dan Pitts, your first Sepultura album was?
It was Chaos AD, I think.
Tim?
Chaos AD.
Rob?
Roots, because of my age.
And Dom, Roots.
Same.
See, my first was I shoplifted a copy of Beneath the Remains, and I thought Beneath
7?
I was in fucking God,
12.
I was in fucking
He was 25.
seventh grade.
Look at
Yeah,
those
right.
gray hairs.
Fucking asshole.
There were still record stores.
Yeah, there was still record stores. It was I actually
Persco was
shop.
phase A of the COVID vaccine. at his age.
Yeah, right. Because I have fucking diabetes and I'm fat. I
You're 80 years
shoplifted
old.
this at the same time I picked up Harmony Corruption, which is arguably Napalm Death's best album. But see, I love this
I'm
album.
waiting for no safe.
I loved Beneath the Remains. I think Arise is comparable to South of Heaven, where I kind of stopped and went, what the fuck? Aside from Dead Embryonic Cells, I really don't like South of Heaven. I really don't like Arise.
Stop
Yeah.
it. Stop.
Yeah, you're wrong.
I think
You're wrong.
Just, yeah. No.
Why? Why am I wrong?
No.
Why am I wrong?
Arise is a fucking masterpiece. Stop it.
There
So is
are,
Beneath the
there
Remains.
are absolutely some albums that have the that I bet you could make. And again, there's a bunch of episodes I haven't heard from you guys before, but there's albums I don't think you've covered yet that are probably the polarizing albums. Like, you know, like Soulfly isn't polarizing.
No.
Slipknot isn't polarizing. Deftones isn't polarizing. But you grab
Deftones is polarizing.
From
What'd you
what's
say?
that?
Deftones is polarizing.
Yeah.
You kidding me? You got people that are like, oh, new metal. Blah,
You know, maybe I was a little bit in my
Also,
bubble.
like,
Oh,
Yeah, here we go. We're gonna
oh,
poke Tim. Tim, show him your tattoo. Your turn.
Yeah. I
Not taking your hoodie
like,
off.
I'm not making the
yet.
argument. I'm just calling it as it is, especially with like how they're like the more ambient, like full on Depeche Mode.
Is he peeing or
Yeah,
pouring a
right,
glass
right,
of
okay.
wine?
Oh,
I'm drinking wine. I just poured some more. I don't know where I'm at with this. I'm just saying. Anyway,
No, I get you though. I get you. There are some albums
well,
that
maybe it's
divide
more
a
of like
fan
the-
base.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Right. From a fan base that where there's a lot of love for the band as a whole, then there's albums in the middle. Whereas I think, you know, Bobby, you bring up a good point that Soulfly or that Deftones as a band is polarizing between people that think they're horrible and people that think they're, you know, fucking geniuses. But then when you get a whole fan base that agrees on how awesome the band is, but then you know, I don't know how many polarizing deep dive albums that you've done so far, or if you're just picking albums that you like and doing deep dives off of those. But you can probably find a few albums from a few bands that are like the number one, like I'll punch you in the face if you like this album, kind of.
But I don't think we haven't gotten there yet, but we're starting to get towards it. Like we're starting to do some of the stuff that's like we have Snot coming up. We have a Nothing Face album coming up. We have Slipknot volume 3 coming up, which I think is fucking terrible. But the we're having Adam from Orthodox who loves it, and the guy from Boundaries, Matt from Boundaries, who loves it. So
oh wow.
I mean, it's gonna be an interesting conversation. Oh, you just had me thinking of something. Polarizing albums.
We're doing Shooty's Groove.
Crossbreed, Jesus. All right, so what do we have next? Next we did The Prophet. So now we're at Soulfly 2, 6 minutes and 5 seconds.
Oh, wait, you guys did The Prophet?
What do you got, Tim?
yeah. What do you got?
Shit. Move next.
The fucking interlude. That's 3 songs at the end of the album.
This should have been the last track,
Yeah.
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
I hate when instrumentals are the last track though, because like my
Why?
track 2 theory, like my
Why
track
do you
2
hate
theory,
Metallica?
I love
Dan's gonna smash his he's gonna smash his Vuvuzela over his own head.
Eat it. Swallow it like a sword swallower.
Swordweller.
It would have made sense.
Look, for this band on this on any of these CDs, you know, especially this one, it would have definitely made sense. Wasn't it the last song on their first album? Wasn't it their instrumental? I think was their closeout song on their.
I believe so. Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
So, but just in general, like I look forward to hearing the last song of any album because there's it's usually one of the best. Any good album, the last song is one of the best songs on the whole thing. So I hate when they use an instrumental to close out an album because there's no way you could like an instrumental as much as any other songs on it. Even songs that do the
Implements of Destruction on Chimera's Impossibility record.
Yeah, that's
I'm not saying
great.
it can't be done, but in general,
Jada Bloom on
Jada Bloom on Imprint. Yeah, VOD.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
What was the instrumental at the end of the Darkest
Yeah,
Hour
wow,
album?
yeah.
That was fucking great. On the was it Hidden Hands, right? Had an instrumental outro. Then again, so did Rise of Brutality.
That one. It's been a while.
Yeah.
That one's 20 years old too.
What? Rise of Brutality?
No, Hidden Hands.
Yeah.
That came
But
out.
I think to Guzzy's point, I feel like bands pick the last song out of passion and emotion because they don't need to worry about, oh, what song's going to hit hard? Like, what's our single going to be? So they pick their follow-up favorite for the end to like close it out, you know?
Oh, how about Deftones releasing their single as the last song on the record for the new record? That caught me by
Ohms?
surprise. Yeah, for Ohms, yeah. Well,
Well, they can-
it was
they can do
Ohms was the
whatever the
lead
fuck
off
they want.
single. Yeah.
Yeah. They can.
They really.
I love
They can
it.
and
I
they
still
do.
listen to it like once a day.
Yeah. It's
Hell
great.
yeah, man.
It throws you for a loop too when you're trying to get, because I'd fallen out of touch with Deftones for a little bit. Jay, you and I talked about this a little bit, that I'd fallen out of touch, and my buddy, who's still, he sees them at least twice, per tour.
Which is bad because Chino's terrible live, but keep going.
Well,
No, dude, I saw them.
was
I saw
live
them
was
like
dependent on how
3-4
fucked up
years
it
ago.
was.
They were great.
Yeah, and my buddy Dan is candid about how there are shows where he was just a puddle of a human in the middle of the show, and that happened to be in the late '90s, early 2000s, which just so happened to be some of the concerts that we went to.
A puddle of a human. That's fucking awesome.
So, but so he said, he's like, you have to hear this out. So I'm like, you know what, Apple Music's, and I'm looking for some shit to change up because I'm cooped up inside all day. So I'm like, all right. And then you see the whole track listing on an Apple Music, and it's probably true for Spotify. You got on Apple Music, you got the little star next to the album, next to the tracks that are like the most played. And you see that star at the last track of the album. And you're like, how the fuck is the last track like the most listened to? And so, but you have a whole nother, you've already done 2 Deftones podcasts, I think, haven't you?
Not just one.
No,
Well, we did a
two.
whole.
We did
yeah.
The deep dive with Mitchell from Descent, which is pretty funny because Mitchell looked like a prison. He looked like he was being held at gunpoint. It was pretty funny. And then we did the first album.
So anyway, so that's my, I don't know how I got. Oh yeah, I got into the ramble of it because of Soulfly being an instrumental and it being on the third to last track.
So when I think of like album closers that are amazing, funnily enough, Dan makes me think of Full Blown Chaos Within the Grasp of Titan. They close with the Voorhees Complex, and then the hidden track is Blood off of their EP. And it's just 2 brutal songs. Like, I think you should go out on a high note. I think one of the best songs Chimera did is the second to last song, Tim. I don't remember the name. It's the non-instrumental right before the instrumental on The Impossibility of Reason. It's got a 1-word title and it's fucking awesome. Like it's a definitely like a headbangy song. But I think, I don't know, that's why Tim and I have had this conversation, why I kind of like hardcore better than metal is because hardcore, they're forced into a smaller, it's not overlooked. Yeah. It's not this masturbatory, like 7-minute songs. It's like, get in, get out. You got 90 seconds. Fucking punch me in the face. Okay, now do it again. Now do it again. Now do it again. Now
We got 15 fucking minutes. We're gonna play as many songs as we fucking can.
Yo, that I've told that story, right? The first time we saw Hatebreed, Rob lost
It wasn't the first time, but it was at
Tattoo the Earth. Rob got his wife beater ripped in half, and I got my glasses knocked off my face. First time we saw Hatebreed.
And I had my shoe stepped off.
He lost his
shoe.
shoe.
Back and forth, and like they spent half the set.
Guzzy, were you with us? You weren't with us for that, were you?
I wasn't there. I've seen Hatebreed, I think, with you, but
Dan Pitts, Dom, Tim, we go see Tattoo the Earth at Giant Stadium, and the opening bands are in the parking lot with 2 stages next to one another, right? So like band A is playing, band B is setting up. And this is the first time I saw like Mudvayne.
Dude, I think it was Downset first, and then Hatebreed came on right after.
Might have been, and then Hatebreed comes out, right, and the banner goes up, and this is like Boulder and Beatty, and this is the original lineup. Jamie Josta comes out and grabs the microphone and he says, we're Hatebreed for Connecticut. We got 15 fucking minutes. We're gonna play as many songs as we can. This is Empty Promises. And they go into the first song, and I turn, and this dude whose fist was as big as a fucking cinder block in slow motion, just I get popped in the face. My glasses go flying. Like, I have no idea what's going on. I find Rob, his like wife beater is ripped down the front. He's like, dude, I lost a fucking shoe. It was out of control. It was out of control. Yeah. And then Jamie started doing his own podcast and he got hard, and then it's fucking got terrible after that. All right, so let's go back to Soulfly here. We got in memory of 4 minutes 36 seconds, track number 11, featuring Babatunde Rabuin, Deontay Perry, and Justice Olbert from Cutthroat Logic. Who wants to go first on this one?
God awful.
Horrible.
Everybody.
Why do we need a rap track in this?
This is bad audio, but everybody is shaking their head like, no thanks.
You know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of that song on that on the Korn record. Was it All in the Family or some shit? Or
where he's rapping with Fred? Okay.
It's just like a bunch of idiots rapping about nonsense, and I'm like,
it's so God. Forced. Like
exactly.
Yeah.
And it's weird because like they use the Berenbow again, like a callback from the first track, but it's not the last track. So what do you do?
Yeah, I was thinking,
like,
right.
why?
I remember that the first time I ever heard it. Yeah.
There was one guy that sounded like DMX for a second, and I was like,
yeah, me too. What?
That I wasn't.
What?
That I wasn't. I skipped it.
This is one of those songs that when you have a guy like Max, who, and we talked about it earlier, I think, Bobby was one of the ones that said, where he just brings in guys, they just go in, they just jam, and they just turn out whatever they turn out, and a lot of times it's at least decent, unless it's some of you guys don't like some of the like the Corey Taylor song, but they come by it honestly. They just throw them in the studio and they come out with whatever they come out. And so in that sense, this song it's the end result of, you do that with enough people enough times, eventually one of the things you come out of the studio with is just gonna be shit. And it was a little bit of a gamble, and like, how are we going to make a song? So they just went in there and they just made a song. I'm like, all right, well, and then they walked out, and then they had to put it somewhere or sit on it forever.
It's certainly a song.
I think the actual rapping isn't bad.
No,
the music's horrible.
Yeah.
Then you got Max going Soulfly, like it makes no sense at all.
Thanks for the call back, Max.
Either. Yeah.
Wasn't sure where we were.
Yeah, I wasn't sure what band I was listening to. Thank you.
It's so weird.
Yeah, it's not my notes here are the hip hop Berenbow, what WTF? And then I said, and I go back to Tim's call out where he said, the album is not cohesive. And then Tim's add-on statement to that was, it feels like a bunch of demos and scratch tracks that they kind of remastered and threw together.
Yeah.
And if you look at the sequencing,
Makes
it's
sense.
Soulfly, guest, Soulfly, guest, Soulfly, guest, Soulfly, instrumental, guest, Soulfly with a guest. Like, that's the whole album.
Huh, I didn't think of it like that, but yeah.
Yeah,
sure.
they did it too much where, you kind of hope he got the bug like everybody else, where he says, you know what, my guest shit I'll put over, like Al Jurgensen, right? My guest stuff I'll put over here and we'll title it Revolting Cocks and we'll never tour off it. And my other stuff I'll just keep it over here. Okay, so that takes us to the last track on the first release of this album. The name is Fly High. It's 4 minutes and 50 seconds, and it features Asha Rabuin. And Lil Bobby, you get to go first.
This is also one of those 20 years ago, I hated it. 2021, I kind of like it, and it works. What I think is probably the best compliment is because we're still dealing with the incongruous duets, but it works.
Dom?
I don't like the clean vocals, and I like clean vocals, but these, it just doesn't work for me. The melody of how she sings just doesn't match the instruments to me.
It's like you had an R&B singer on a Soulfly track.
Yeah, it just, I'm like,
Yeah.
what?
See, you know what I thought of when I first heard her vocals? KMFDM. Because remember how KMFDM had that like female opera singer, and she kind of seemed so completely out of place because you can tell it was a woman that had range. I'm like, listen to this woman singing. I'm like, is this Max? Like, Max, what are we doing here? What are we doing here?
I mean,
Guzzy,
I can see how it would work for other people, but for me, it just it doesn't work in my ears.
Guzzy?
It hadn't occurred to me till just now. You know, Dan, you were the one saying about how maybe some bands will save something that they like the best, or that they feel they have a little more like artistic like closeness to for the last track, so you don't have to worry about it being singles. That was you, Dan, right?
Yeah.
Said that earlier. And so now thinking about it, that comment and seeing this track is, there's absolutely a reason to think that this was like the lyrics, like first of all, Max brings the beginning of the song fucking great. So you know, it hits right away with the guitars. It hits right away with it. You know, his lyrics are very Max lyrics. They're not overdone. They're not underdone. They're right. They're aggressive. But when you get to when you get to where she's singing, I think the melody under that, the instrument playing under that is more unique than most of the Soulfly stuff. And again, I thought that was cool to bring, but the transition of what they were doing before that to the instrument part was a smooth transition. But you know, then if you have, you know, somebody like Dom who doesn't like the vocals of the singing, that's gonna ruin the whole thing. If you take away her vocals from it, and I like her vocals, I think it's a cool way to close out an album, because you've just had this disjointed like Dom, you said, like you're trying to punch things, and then because you're psyched up, and then you're trying to punch things because you hate what you're listening to, and so you have this disjointedness, and then you go out with a mix of of talent and metal like happening at the same time, and it's head boppy a little bit too, but not in a cheesy way. I don't know. I thought this was there are many songs that can close out many better albums, but of this album, I don't know a better place you could put this song, and I think it's a pretty decent song to have on any album. Anyway, this isn't the kind of song that you bury on like a on 20 year later, like unreleased B tracks, unmastered kind of song. It's pretty decent and it belongs somewhere. And if you're going to put it somewhere, I think it's a good outro to the album.
Rob?
I'd just like to add, since you're calling on me twice, that
sorry.
It's all right. I generally hate clean singing, but like I think the ultimate compliment is that I like this song.
What do you think, Tim?
Well, what do you think? I think
I think at this point you were going, "Please God, make it stop," which is what my notes actually
pretty
say.
much, yeah. like I listened to it, like I forget who said it. I listened to it 3 times in a row, and by the time I got to this track, every time I'm just like, can we just get this episode over with, for fuck's sake? But I mean, it was fun either way.
It's just, I mean, you can tell where Max is trying to go. I do think somebody said it, the Corey Taylor song was definitely trying to grab what's popular at this time and let's run with it and fuck it. You know, people will buy it because Corey Taylor's on it. And, you know, you had Grady Avenel and Chino, and you had, Sean Lennon, Tom Araya. I guarantee they were trying to pull from, and I don't know if it was an overt thing to say, let's pull fans from different places, but it might've been Max just being Max. Cause Dan said, he's into a lot of shit. And one of the cool things about Max Cavalera is if you interviewed him today, he would talk about 3 or 4 bands that he's listening to, that he's into, that are modern bands. Like I remember an interview from a year or 2 ago where he was talking about Nails and Pulling Teeth and Full of Hell. Right. Yeah. So he still listens to this shit, and he still keeps up with what's going on.
Yeah, I don't think
he in Killer Be Killed?
Yeah, he's Killer Be Killed. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't think
proof enough.
Yeah.
And it never struck me that any of these collaborations were like them trying to capitalize, like the label saying, "Hey, people, it's totally like, hey, I've toured with these dudes, or I respect what they're doing, and I'm on one of my tracks."
I mean, it certainly didn't hurt with the label that when you say I want to do something with Corey Taylor, I don't think the label was trying to say, nah, we can't find a place to fit him.
That's
I
true.
I definitely remember the high watermark for me for Soulfly was Rob and I went to this show. Was October of 2000. It was homecoming weekend, and it was Soulfly, Downset, Primer 55, Slaves on Dope at the Electric Factory.
Primer 55.
Oh, say it, Rob. Say it. Watch these
Have we not
fuckers
seen
jump when
them?
I get loose. Say it.
I blocked that shit out. All I know is I've seen them more than I've seen anybody else.
It's the worst.
But we're
You
trying to
keep
make
seeing-
them a thing.
Seriously, they were getting shoved down our throat.
But I mean, that's where I remember Soulfly. I mean, you're headlining the Electric Factory, that's a big venue,
Yeah.
right? I mean, for those of
It
you
was-
who don't know, that's a big venue.
It's as big as you got in Philly. I don't know if it's still the case, but when you were touring Philly, if you weren't, it was basically the second biggest place you could play.
Aside from an arena, it's
Yeah.
the Electric
It
Factory.
was,
Yeah.
it's the first thing before an arena. Now that's you.
Yeah. And it's nowhere close to the size of an arena, but in the Philly music scene, it was.
That was
you know,
that was your high water mark. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, a lot of bands are, strive to play that place still.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yep.
So another thought I had about this song, and you have to listen to it unless you kick me off the meat or or you edit this out again, not happening.
Y'all can mute them, right?
No edits.
No, we don't edit. Fuck it. We'll fix it in post. Fuck that.
We'll do it live. Fuck it.
I think people might be forgetting what a novel thing it was to have a woman with talent, to sing on a metal album in 2000. We're speaking about this album in 2021, and the difference in where we are as a society now from 21 years ago are two totally different places. Like, when did we ever hear a woman singing over drop D thrash metal?
I can think of two instances where I've heard of a woman fronting a band that plays extreme music before this.
Yeah, but
And
in
it was-
terms of-
and it was-
Jericho.
in terms
Okay,
of
three.
mass appeal. In terms of mass appeal,
Mass appeal. No, this is it. Right.
No,
Crisis. Karen Crisis was not pulling the fans that Soulfly was,
No,
and
so
neither was
I'm
Drill.
not hearing anything like this. Remember, I'm getting all my new metal off out of your CD binder, and it had 11,000 CDs in it. So
Jay, why you only listening to dudes?
By the way, Tim, I introduced Guzzy to Jane Doe. And that was one of those things that was one of those albums where we both put on and Dan, we sat in the living room like this.
Yeah.
Because that
Dude.
the closing of that album is one of the most viscerally unnerving things I've ever heard put in a recording.
That song.
He literally is ripping himself to pieces singing. It's fucking amazing.
Songs like that are so fucking heavy and yet beautiful. Like, I don't know what to do with myself.
Did you hear the cover they did at Disintegration? The Cure cover? Where it's like, dude, I want to cut my own balls off and eat them.
Seems reasonable. I'll track to that.
Yeah, I don't want you to eat your own Rocky Mountain oysters.
Yeah, not now. They're definitely full because I'm fucking married. As Dan pulls out the Vuvuzela and he's like,
Oh, you're on mute again.
I'm not muted.
this is terrible. All right, so the limited edition we'll
And that's the end of the episode, folks.
coronavirus.
Yeah, your mouth.
Coronavirus. We'll talk about the limited edition Digipack Japanese edition. So there was a couple extra tracks. There was Eye for an Eye, which is live at Roskilde along with Tribe off the first album. A song Soulfire, which is honestly forgettable. And then there was Soulfly, the Universal Spirit Mix, which was kind of this like hip hoppy sort of kind of weird tech.
No more Soulfly hip hop, please.
So
No, yeah. Never again.
If we're going to look at this album in aggregate, right, I'm going to go around and I'm going to talk about, I'm going to ask everybody what your thoughts are in summation. And I'm going to start with you, Tim. So if you had to sum up the whole album, like, what are your final thoughts after going back? You probably haven't listened to this album in 20 years. You listen to it now for 5 or 6 times through a row. What do you think?
Like I said before, I think it was just a bunch of tracks thrown together. I think it was Roadrunner trying to make people like this band. That's pretty much it. I mean, it did not hold up well at all. I probably will not listen to it again unless I'm forced to, like this. And then I'm going to say it's like a 4 out of 10 for me, maybe 3 actually.
All right, Dom.
I mean, it's got like 3 or 4 songs that I have since put in a playlist on my Spotify account. But other than that, like Tim said, I won't listen to it again probably, other than those 3 or 4 songs.
Dan?
Oh, it's not a good album musically. It's just not. You can't say it is, but I fucking love it. I listen to it unironically like a lot. Like
you've been very clear.
I just feel good when I listen to it. It's just one of those things. It's weird. I know it's not good, but I don't care because it makes me feel awesome.
You've been very clear that you've never taken this out of your rotation.
Yes.
I don't get past the second song. Honestly, I don't get past Grady's. Once Chino starts singing, I rewind it again and I go back to Grady's part and I rewind it again and then I rewind it again and then I rewind it again because
it's the best part. It's the best part of the album.
Yeah.
Sure.
Can we go back to Dom real quick though? What would you give it out of 10?
Probably a 5.
Okay. And then Dan, since we're talking, just don't forget to give it a number because I'm interested to hear what everyone has to say.
Yeah, I'd probably give it like a 6. I mean, if I'm being honest, overall.
Fair enough. Guzzy.
Again, as an album, I don't know that so the vast majority of my music consumption of like, my nostalgic stuff and everything is making giant playlist of a band. Like instead of just pressing shuffle on the band's name in my music library, I make a separate playlist and I try and weed out all the shitty songs that I don't want to fast forward through. And so if I were to, there's like Don said, like there's probably 4 or 5 songs I would put into a Soulfly list when I make one, and they'd all be awesome. So I wouldn't be listening to any of the other songs again for God knows how long, if ever, so it has strengths. I probably wanted to like it more than I actually did. I mean, considering I got the tattoo, I wanted to like really double down. But it had the best songs made me feel good about, about having bought the album, about liking the band. So, I don't know. And then if I had to distill it down now to a number, I'd say 6.5.
Okay. Bobby.
It has, sorry.
No, keep going.
Go ahead.
I just, being a teacher, grading things on an A, B, C, D, F scale, like this passes. 65 is passing. This passes. It has its absolute weaknesses, but it absolutely crushes a couple of things, and I can't give it an F because it does some good shit. So what's the lowest?
But it still needs to come see you after class, though, right?
Max, I'm not keeping Max after.
It gets a Saturday detention.
Yeah, Mr. Guzzy, do you want me to?
Yeah.
It's the kid who's eating glue in the corner all day.
It's
Bobby.
the fucking gum underneath the desk.
Man, could you hate anything more?
Oh,
Yeah, he can. Trust me. Tim
listen
can.
to some of the other episodes. I get real nuts with it.
Tim gets so uncomfortable.
Like
You
System
guys-
of a Down might be the worst band ever.
And
Hot take.
the best part is we get on Adam from Orthodox, who is we call him Adam of a Down because he is a huge fan. And whenever Tim starts saying this is terrible, you look at Adam's face in the video and he goes, "What?
Yeah.
What,
Well, wait till we hit Mesmerize soon.
dude? Is that the
That
first
one's
one?
not good.
Is that the
That
first
one's
one or
not
the
good.
second one?
The second one. It's Hypnotized,
Oh, is it?
Mesmerized, right?
Hypnotize is good. Mesmerize, I'd rather put my balls through a cheese grater. It's
Yeah,
It's-
what's up with you and your balls tonight, man?
I don't know. I've been sitting on it all the time.
They're full, apparently.
Yeah, there you go.
Apparently, the wife's in trouble later. Dan, give me the vuvuzela. I'll blow that while I'm whatever. Rob.
Honestly, I've been dreading this question because I feel like it's fraught. Because what are we grading this on? Is there nostalgia? Is there a shift in taste, yes and yes. I haven't listened to this album in 20 years because I remember it not keeping my interest, especially compared to their first album. And since then, my tastes have shifted drastically. So, like, how do I grade it? I think with all that in mind, it's got to be like a 4, maybe a 5.
Fair enough. So I'll go. I guess I'm going last. When I look back on it, the tracks that I enjoy, I really enjoyed. The tracks that I hate, I want to just, what a terrible day to have ears. I think that I would probably give it a 6.5, if not a 7, because the stuff that's fun is really fun and the stuff that's bad is really bad. But I think the fun overweighs the bad to the point where, like Dan said, I will put this on now and unironically and kind of giggle to myself, like when Tom Araya comes in screaming fucking, whatever the
Something to listen to the music.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I'm like, you know what? I kind of dig some of this stuff. So hey, Max is Max. I mean, his stuff is enjoyable. All right, so let's take us out of here. So again, I want to thank Guzzy, and I want to thank the Lokonauts for coming in tonight to hang out and talk about this album. It's been a really fun time. We're definitely going to do this again when we get to Pantera, when we get to Rob having to defend the Deftones as not Deftones, Downset,
not new metal.
Not. It's gonna be a fun talk. We have Cthulhu on the call right now. So again, follow us on Instagram at newbreed_podcast. Follow us on Twitter at newbreed_podcast. If you don't like what we have to say, that's fine. Email us newbreedpodcast@gmail.com. Tell us why we're wrong, so we can send you an email back telling you to shut up your own ass. We have a Facebook group. We have a YouTube channel. We put all these videos out there. On behalf of everyone and myself, I want to thank all of you for listening. I want to thank Guzzy. I want to thank all the guys for coming in. And until next time, this is the fucking New Breed Podcast saying we'll see you in 2 weeks.
You should have left it off with bring the shit.
And there we go.
Bring the shit.
And then in case you missed that, we have oh shit. Look at this. Rob Flynn just joined us. Throw that guy out with his fucking dreadlocks.